All right, today we are putting on our detective hats. We're tackling one of the oldest mysteries there is, the case of human suffering. And we're going to crack it wide open using a core teaching from the ancient texts, something called dependent origination. So let's get into it.
I mean, really think about it. Why do we feel anxiety? Where does that dissatisfaction, that stress, that grief actually come from? It's something every single one of us deals with. But is it just random? Is it some kind of cosmic punishment? Or is there a logical, traceable cause? We're not just going to accept it as a fact of life. We're going to treat it like a puzzle that can be solved.
You know, the ancient Pali texts, like the Vipassana Sutta, they don't just paint the Buddha as some mystical wise man. They actually show him as a methodical investigator. He didn't just accept suffering. He traced it backwards, relentlessly, clue by clue, asking the same simple question again and again. What had to be there for this to happen?
So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to follow that same investigative trail. We'll start at the end with the most obvious part of the problem and just work our way backward to the source. Every link we find is another clue, getting us closer and closer to solving this whole mystery.
Okay, so the most undeniable, in-your-face form of suffering is what the texts call jara marana, aging and death. It's the whole package: sorrow, grief, pain. It feels totally inevitable. But as an investigator, we have to ask the question, what is the absolute prerequisite? For something to age and eventually die, what has to happen first?
And boom, there's our first clue. The condition for aging and death is jati, or birth. Makes perfect sense, right? If you're never born, you can never get old, you can't get sick, and you certainly can't die. So that huge chunk of suffering at the end of life, it's completely dependent on the fact that we had a beginning.
And the investigation gets deeper. We've connected death back to birth. But of course, the chain doesn't end there. What causes birth? What's the engine that's driving this whole cycle, bringing beings into existence over and over again?
So the next link is this really fascinating concept called bhavo, which means becoming. Now, this isn't just one single event. Think of it more like the momentum of our existence. It's the force of our habits, our identity, our deepest intentions that's always pushing us forward, propelling consciousness into a new life. Becoming is what directly causes birth.
And now you can start to see the chain reaction really taking shape. As the investigation goes on, we find that becoming is caused by clinging. You know, that grasping we do, holding on to things we think will make us happy. And that clinging? Well, it's fueled by craving, that deep, nagging thirst for things to be different than they are. This pattern just keeps going link by link, tracing the whole mechanism of our experience backwards. And after tracing this entire chain all the way to the beginning, the investigation reaches this absolutely stunning conclusion. The ultimate source, the root condition that kicks off this whole chain of suffering, it gets identified. And the culprit? It's not some evil force out there or a flaw in the universe. It's avidya, a fundamental ignorance, a deep misunderstanding of how reality actually works.
So now that we've found the source, we can flip this whole investigation around. We don't have to work backward anymore. We can actually lay out the complete blueprint for suffering, showing step by step how it gets built, from the very first domino to the very last.
This right here, this is like the fundamental law of physics for our inner world, just as it's described in the suttas. It's the principle of conditionality. Things aren't random. One thing happens because its necessary condition was met. This simple but incredibly profound formula is what powers the entire chain reaction we're about to walk through.
And here it is, the full cascade, the blueprint for how suffering is built, domino by domino. Let's trace it. It all starts with ignorance, that basic misunderstanding of reality. Because we don't see things clearly, we create mental formations. These are our deep habits and reactions. These formations then give shape to our moment-to-moment consciousness. That consciousness, in turn, gives rise to our name and form. That's our whole subjective experience of having a mind and a body. This creates the 6 sense bases, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And from here, the dominoes fall way faster and they start to feel really familiar. Contact with the world through those senses leads to a feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or just neutral. That feeling almost instantly triggers craving, that I want this or I hate this energy. Craving then solidifies into clinging, where we really grasp on and refuse to let go. This clinging is what fuels the whole engine of becoming, which then leads directly to birth, and you guessed it, right back to the entire mess of suffering we started with, aging and death. It's just a perfect, predictable and totally impersonal chain reaction.
So, here's the most important point of all. If suffering is built according to a blueprint, that means it can also be dismantled. The investigation didn't just reveal the problem, it also, at the exact same time, revealed the solution. When you understand the cause, you gain the power to make it stop. This is just the flip side of that first principle, and it is the absolute key to freedom. If the arising of something causes an effect, then the cessation of that same thing will cause the effect to cease. It's as simple as an off switch. If we can just stop that first domino from falling, the entire chain reaction just stops. Look at this. It lays out the two paths with perfect clarity. On one side, you've got the automatic, unconscious process that's just driven by ignorance. It's a line of dominoes leading straight to suffering. But on the other side, you've got the path of wisdom. By removing that very first domino, ignorance, the entire chain that supports suffering never even gets a chance to start. Okay, so this is way more than just some ancient philosophy. It's a deeply practical map of our own minds. What does this detective story really tell us about our day-to-day lives? Why does any of this matter to you and me?
There's this beautiful metaphor from the text that just captures the essence of this whole teaching perfectly. Think of two bundles of reeds leaning against each other. Neither one can stand up on its own. They are completely interdependent. If you pull one away, the other one immediately falls. That's what these links are like. Our mind needs our body to exist. Our body needs our mind. It's a dynamic, flowing process, not just a bunch of solid, separate things.
And this, right here, might be the biggest takeaway of all. The texts are really clear about this. Asking the question, who is feeling or who is clinging, is actually the wrong question. Why? Because it assumes there's some solid, permanent self back there doing the suffering. This teaching shifts our focus completely, from who to how. It's not about finding a person to blame, it's about seeing an impersonal process of cause and effect in action. So, the investigation ends by turning inward, to you. You've got the blueprint now. Can you actually see it playing out in your own life? Next time a really strong feeling comes up, can you trace it back to the sense contact that triggered it? When you catch yourself clinging to something, can you spot the craving that's fueling it? The mystery has been solved, but the real work, the work of observing the process in yourself, has just begun.